It's Thursday. That means it's time to narrow down our player pool for Draftkings on the main slate this week. Tomorrow we will narrow down FanDuel. I'm still running through projections on that one, but everything is up to date for this. If anything changes, you can tune in on Saturday morning for Live Before Lock. I'll have all the news and updates, and there's going to be some things that are going to make it very important to pay attention to the news this week. A lot of big injury news that we're going to have to look out for. Tight player pool this week for the most part. I'd say the core plays are really limited, and we're going to have a lot of shots around those guys. So there's some really high end plays. I think ownership's going to be more concentrated to an extent on the top guys, but then spread out across the other ancillary pieces. So, as we always like to do, our core number one top quarterback play of the week. I have two core plays this week at quarterback. He's down here. I love a cheap guy. I'm taking Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, taking on Kansas. He is on the road. I just think he's playing great ball right now. He's got decent weapons on the outside, some big play threats, and I love the rushing upside. The only other game they have been pushed, which I think they will be pushed to an extent here in this game, was Nebraska. Nebraska, decent defense. He ran for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did not throw the ball well in that game. He doesn't need to throw the ball well in order to score. He scored 23 points. If he gives me 23 points at 6,400, I am happy as a clam. But he has a rushing touchdown in every game this season, and you can see he has big play ability for days. Love Sorsby in this spot. We've seen Kansas take on Bo Pribula. Pribula had a decent game against them as well. So I think you can see a great ceiling game out of Sorsby. He projects absolutely unreal with a near 27-point projection, 4x value for Sorsby. He's just a guy that I'm going to have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 60%. I would expect 50% of my top end teams specifically. I think I'm going to end up with 60% in the Saturday kickoff here with 50K to first. So I'll probably be slightly over the field in my opinion. Second core quarterback play. I want mobility. I want cheap because there's some high end weapons I want to get to. I'm taking Mendoza. Mendoza is now the Heisman leader, I think. So he's playing out of his skin as well. We went over it when we looked at his salary in the first look. I thought he was too cheap. I've played Mendoza for a couple years at this point since he was a freshman. He's got limited mobility. It is a positive, though, instead of being a negative. And he's throwing the ball really well. He's got good stack partners, good guys that can hit over top. I can tell you right now, my number one first team on the board is going to be Sorsby Mendoza. Do I need to stack Mendoza? No, because he can hit one of his running backs. He can hit Surratt for one. He can hit Cooper for one. He can run one in. Nowakowski can catch one. EJ Williams. He's got weapons all over the place. He can sling the ball all over and get you there without any other ancillary piece being able to get there. So core plays at quarterback, Sorsby, Mendoza, a clear top option. Sorsby number 1, Mendoza 2. Top GPP play for me this week at quarterback. I had Trinidad Chambliss in this as a consideration. I removed him literally right before the show. I am taking DeMond Williams as the top GPP play. I don't think anybody's going to want to get here, given what Arch Manning did against this Ohio State defense. I like DeMond playing at home. The rushing upside is there. Love that. And I think he's going to have to kind of put the team on his back. I don't know that Jonah Coleman is going to find lanes But what you're going to find is these Washington guys are going to be a consistent theme for me as GPP options. I think they go completely underowned, and there is a world where they end up winning this game. Demond, the most impressive part to me, granted, I think they lack a second wide receiver on the outside. That makes him the most scary portion. I wouldn't take but a shot or two here. But I think that he has the capability between his legs and his arm. His arm is underrated. He's very high completion percentage guy, and he has a great weapon on the outside in Denzel Boston. He just doesn't kind of get the credit he deserves. Nobody's kind of put him on the national stage yet. And at 8,200, I think he goes highly overlooked because there's better options in that same range. I would say specifically two other guys that I'm going to highlight that I would pick over him if I was playing a single injury. All right. Rest of the player pool. I would love to say Sawyer Robertson. I just think that this is a game I'm not playing it through Robertson. I would advise taking one shot if you overexpose to his running back. I just think that it's very risky, but he's in play. He's just so expensive in order for him to pay off, and he's not going to run in this spot. There's no reason for him to. Taylor Green is going to have to be in the pool. Is he going to project as well as most of these guys? No. But obviously playing against Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that's been leaky on the back end, leaky against everything. We saw what Marcel Reed was able to do. Here, we'll even look at it. Marcel Reed against Notre Dame. 17 of 37. That seems like a Marcel Reed line to me. 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then another 37 rushing. So Talon is a slightly better passer than Marcel Reed, and he's got more rushing capability. So if we take that and say 31 points, I would happily take that at 9,100. I have no issues playing that. So Taylor Green firmly in play. Is he my favorite play of the week? No, but he needs to be in your pool, and you need to take some shots on him this week. Second guy in the pool, just in this thing, we'll go Jaden Maeva. I think Maeva is a slightly better play, or he's a better play than DeMond Williams if you're not playing a ton of entries. I would play plenty of Maeva. Concern would be at Illinois, USC, traveling. Don't love that. Now, Illinois missing a lot of their secondary currently. That's why Mendoza just absolutely lit them up. I think you can attack this secondary, and that's going to be a common theme for me. It's going to be one of my favorite things this week. I will throw a good bit of him. What's up, Jay Whitty? I do love Maeva. I'm heavily invested in him in the sports card market. I did that prior. His market is way up now. I think it's at 3x. So I would say Maeva, great play this week. He's going to be able to run the football a little bit, but it's going to come down to the pass game. And given that Illinois has so many injuries on the back end, Maeva will be able to take advantage of that. The other guy that I like in this range that I like more than DeMond Williams is Haynes King. So you can go here. My concern would be in a competitive environment, he's going to get those 20 carries. In this environment, he's going to get closer to 10. I think they try to limit his exposure as far as to hits. And unless this game is competitive, I don't think it's a Haynes King game. So he projects amazing. He's probably one of the top, if not the top, projected quarterback this week from a raw point standpoint. It gives him a really good points per dollar floor. His rushing is what you're counting on in that spot. I would just have concerns that they don't end up needing to run him against this Wake Forest team. And I think they lean into Jamal Haynes personally. If I was playing Haynes King, I would want to play a DeMond Claiborne or maybe a Chris Barnes, something to give me some points from Wake Forest, because that's the only way that Haynes King is going to access this rushing upside, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm at with Haynes King. Haynes King's a tricky one. I think a lot of people are going to be on Haynes King, but I think he's a nervy click. I will have some, but it's going to be dependent. I much prefer the Jamal Haynes route in this situation. Next guy on the list, Jalen Daniels. I like this game environment. We talked about Sorsby. I even like bringing it back with Daniels. I think it's a very good option. I am going to go over game stack options that I like as some odd plays. I've been starting in some smaller field, smaller tournament stuff, some lower dollar stuff, trying to do these odd game stacks and overstacks, trying to see if I can workshop some of that stuff rather than just trying to play solid, smart things, just play some weird shit. So I think Kansas in this spot, they're going to give up points. They're going to probably be chasing a little bit. I love Jalen Daniels. He's looked really healthy so far this season. We don't know. We're going to talk a bit about Highshaw. He uses his legs. He's thrown the ball pretty well. He's got good receiving weapons. I expect him to be able to throw the ball a good bit. And if we look at Missouri, it's a heck of a good defense. So for him at 6,700 to throw up 24, he's been highly consistent. It's a 0.8 of a point spread from his worst game to his best game. Love to see that. So the consistency's unmatched. He's going to give you more than 3x value. You got to be really confident in that. I think he kind of hits in this 24-point range at worst. So give me Jalen Daniels. Feel good there. Really like the play. He needs to be in the pool. I have no issues getting there. All right, next guy in the pool, Blake Shapen. I like Blake Shapen. I thought he's played pretty well. He has rushing capability. He will run the football. And I think his weapons are very well, reasonably priced. Tennessee struggled with that Georgia pass game, so it lends me to want to get to Blake Shapen. I think it's Jeff Lebby in this system throws the ball very well. I think you could see Shapen access a 300-yard game here with the Tennessee defense being able to kind of stop the run a little bit more and give up more to the pass. He also should be in that 20-point range, right at about 20. I have him right about 20 on projection. So I think you could see if he gets the 302 with minimal rushing, he's going to be there. So I really like that. Fire him up. I'm good on Shapen. No doubt about it. I prefer Mendoza and Sorsby by a good bit. So I would have limited amounts of Shapen by comparison to those two, no doubt. All right, so new category we're adding this week. I've kind of highlighted them a little bit different. Punt play. So I wanted to give one guy sub 6K in this spot. Miller Moss. I like Miller Moss as a quarterback. He has zero rushing upside. He's not going to be a positive whatsoever in this spot. His totals so far are terrible, but they haven't been pushed at all. So if they get pushed, now JMU pushed them a little bit. Shout out my boys. I think you've got two good weapons to stack with. I think this Pitt game can shoot out because Pitt has weapons. So Moss at 5,700, if he can access a 300-yard passing game with multiple touchdown passes, you're looking at over 20, and I'd feel very good about it. So something very similar to this Bowling Green line here, 316. Now throw two touchdowns in here. So if that's 13.1, you give me two touchdowns. That's going to give me another 8 points. That's 21. Let's say he saves 2 points by sacks. Now I'm at 23. 23 at 57 is nearly 4x. I think he can get you there. It's a nervy play, but I do trust Coach Brom to be able to deliver in these types of situations. Robbie Ashford, also funny play down there, but not going there. Just refused to play Robbie Ashford. All right, so let's talk core plays at running back. I'm going to cop out just a hair. Well, I'll give you my favorite core play. Let's give me my number one play of the week at running back. It's Le'Veon Moss facing off with this Texas Auburn defense. His workload has steadily increased, and he's going to score touchdowns. So I like Le'Veon Moss in this spot to get 20 carries, 100 yards, and multiple scores. Points per dollar wise at 5,400, he's my favorite play. as far as the guys that I feel comfortable with. We're going to talk about a lot of injury situations here in a second, but he's going to be my top option. I'm going to have a lot of Le'Veon Moss. He's the guy I feel most comfortable with from about 4,200 all the way to 6,500 probably. He's the guy I feel most comfortable with. No doubt about it. Number 2, core play. I think you have to roster one of Bryson Washington or Jeremiah Love. So I'm making them as a cop out. I said I was copping out. One of them is the second core play. I prefer Bryson Washington personally. I think a lot of the field's going to go to Jeremiah Love because of his capability the last 2 weeks against bad defenses. Arkansas's defense sucks too. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to have a lot of him. I want to split ownership. And yes, a lot of people are going to like it because it's the savings. I just think that the touchdown variance is such a scary thing. And the touch volume is such a scary thing for Jeremiah Love. I know Bryson Washington's getting all the work. I know it. It's a guarantee. He will get 100 yards. He will get at least 1, probably 2 touchdowns in this game. I think he's a safer bet for 30 points than Jeremiah Love is, but I do want both in case one goes for 4 touchdowns. I think there's a world where Bryson Washington scores 5 touchdowns in this matchup. I don't know that there's a world where Jeremiah Love scores 5 touchdowns in that matchup. Oklahoma State is absolutely putrid against the ground. That's why I don't like the Sawyer Robertson play. I think there's a lot higher probability that Washington pays out than Sawyer Robertson. I prefer Washington to Love slightly, but I think ownership goes Love first, then Washington. You could play if you can get them both in the same lineup, go for it. I think it is possible. I will try in a few instances, but there's a reason why I don't think you're going to be able to go Love, Washington, and Moss. I think there's a lot of other plays. All right. Let's go to GPP plays first. I think Des Reed plays. I think Des Reed's the ultimate GPP play. Yes, he smacked me in the face in this Pitt, West Virginia game, gave me 3 points, ruined my day to an extent. I'm still going back to the well. I think he's the top GPP play of the day because he has every capability under the sun to throw a 40 burger up and go 100 on the ground, 100 through the air if he is healthy. He's legitimate, been practicing during the bye. I feel okay with him. If he can come back, and he's not on the injury report, I will want to get a ton of Des Reed at 7,300. I'm just going to buy the player. And that's what I've been doing with Eric McAllister. That's what I did with Josh Cameron. I'm buying the player. I'm buying the tape, buying the film of what I've seen on tape. This is a spot that I think Des Reed can have an absolute banger game. Now, the matchup is awful. Ownership should be low. Price, pretty good. I much prefer a play right above him. But if we're talking GPP, also, again, like I said, I'm highlighting these Washington guys. I think Washington can legitimately win this game. Jonah Coleman's been on fire to start this season. I mean, look at the numbers so far. This is insane. So you got to buy it a little bit and say, hey, if Washington hangs in this game, how do they do it? I think there's a way, we're going to talk about it in game stacks, that you can play a little something that's odd. But I think GPP-wise, low ownership, with the production he's had, I think Coleman has to be in your, let me take a shot here or there. He's not Des Reed. There's better plays all around him. I think every once in a while you take a little stab at Jonah Coleman because all the ownership's going to go in this range to these guys. And I think Coleman comes in at sub 10% and likely should. All right, let's talk injuries. Isaac Brown's questionable. I don't know that Isaac Brown plays. This is probably the one of 2 inflection points for this slate. I feel like if Isaac Brown's completely healthy, Isaac Brown's an absolute smash play at 7,700. He would be the top running back on the slate. He would be the core play of core plays, and you would want to get him with another big boy in here. I don't know if he's healthy. He hasn't gotten a ton of work yet. He hadn't been needed. He really got held in check in this JMU game. I did manage to get to watch this. 11 carries for 26 yards before he ripped off a 78-yarder at the very end of the game. He just kind of hasn't had to do anything. But if he's playing, he's a fabulous play. Now, the other question mark we have is Duke Watson's hurt. I'm not going to consider him. I think he's way more questionable to play than Isaac Brown. I think he's even more of a question than Isaac Brown, personally. So then that begs the question, if both of them are out, Kewan Brown is a freaking core play, man. Like, if they're both out, 3,300 for this guy is way too cheap. Slot him in immediately. And if one's out, let's just say it's only Duke Watson who's out and Isaac Brown's playing, I'm still going to want shares of Kewan Brown because I want to play it safe in that spot and take shots there. Because I think Isaac Brown's going to have limited workload. Kewan Brown gets in plenty at 3,300, fabulous value play, great third back option. Second injury situation to monitor is going to be Oklahoma State. So I don't love this idea, but Baylor is susceptible on the ground. Hicks been out a little bit. Can he? Oh, he's out for the game against Baylor. There we go. Okay. That is a good thing for us. So I am going to, sorry, I got to update my color palette here. So he is 1,000% in play at this point now. So Rodney Fields is 100% in play. If they are going to move the football against Baylor, it will be on the ground and it will be Rodney Fields. So now that we know, see, that's the thing. When I update this stuff, it helps. So that's why we read these things. It has a questionable tag and Hicks is out. So now with Hicks out, Rodney Fields 100% in play. Got a ton of work last week against Tulsa. Caught the ball through the air and on the ground. They're going to get absolutely dominated by Baylor, but that does not mean that we can't play Rodney Fields if we need to. He's a fabulous points per dollar play. And there's only one other guy that could even come close to competing with him. And we're going to talk about him in a second. But Kewan Brown is an injury situation to monitor. Oklahoma State situation now solved. That's helpful. And he's usable because they're going to try to just run the football and maybe hope that they can get away because Zane Flores absolutely sucks. And they have no pass game. So it's going to come down to Rodney Fields. I like the play at 4K. I think he's a great play. He borderline a core play, realistically, like right on the edge now. Now, there's one guy who can overtake him. Kewan Brown, I'll rank him in a second. There's one guy that can overtake him. If Daniel Highshaw ends up being out. So he's doubtful. Okay. Ooh, buddy. This is the core play of all core plays right here in a second. So, if Highshaw's out, LaShawn Williams is a lock and load number one play. He'd be the best value on the board for me. 3,900, top back for Kansas in the Cincinnati game. Cincinnati, not a great run defense. So, and LaShawn Williams, we've seen he can handle the work. I know he can handle the work. I've seen him do it before at Iowa, and he could definitely handle it here at Kansas. I love this play. He'll get 19, 20 touches. Love it. I mean, if I can get If he's doubtful, I'm going to go ahead and plug him in as a green for on my sheet as a core play. So now we know if I was ranking them and you have LaShawn Williams, Rodney Fields, and Keywan Brown as your top like safe, cheap options. Let's just say for the exercise, Isaac Brown and Duke Watson are out. I would rank it Williams, LaShawn Williams number one, no matter what, with a bullet. Keywan Brown would be 2, Rodney Fields 3. If Isaac Brown or Duke Watson's in, Keywan Brown goes to the back of the line. It's Williams, Fields, and then Keywan Brown. LaShawn Williams is number one with bullet, no matter what the situation is for me, because he's the perfect bring back for my Sorsby play, and I could just plug him in everywhere, essentially. From a core play perspective, I probably would say points per dollar wise, Williams 1, Moss 2, then the expensive guys 3. But there's worlds now that you can play the really cheap guys and spend down at running back, spend up for wide receiver stuff and quarterback and whatever. But that's some fun stuff we can do now, because now that we have tons of value on the field here with Highshaw being doubtful and the Oklahoma State back being out. Other guys in the pool. I talked about him when I was talking about Haynes King. I prefer Jamal Haynes. I think Jamal Haynes is explosive. I think Wake Forest sucks. And I think they try to eliminate the need for Haynes King to carry the team on his back. They're a heavy run script team. I think you see Jamal Haynes run the football, gets probably 15 carries, 100 yards, and multiple scores is in there. So I think 7K for him. I prefer him to that Jonah Coleman range. That was the guy I was talking about it being my favorite play in this range. I prefer him to Reed and Coleman, but I will play a good bit of Des Reed so long as he's playing, because he fits perfectly with all of the Louisville stuff that I'd want to do. Reed has higher ceiling. Haynes has a great floor. I will play some Haynes in this spot. Other plays that should be in your pool. Wayman Jordan is playing very well. I think there is a world where they try to run the football on Illinois just to get warmed up and get going. He's kind of turned more into the bell cow back. Eli Sanders taking a pretty heavy back seat. Wayman Jordan's super talented. They really like him. He's produced against everybody. I think you can get exposure to Wayman Jordan. Does not hurt anything. If you're in that mid 6K range, he's a fabulous click. If you can't get up to your Jamal Haynes, I'd prefer Wayman to Jonah Coleman, certainly. All right. If you're playing Haynes King, I mentioned him. You play Damon Claiborne. He's got usage out of the backfield. He can run the football. He's a very talented runner. Do I think they run the football particularly great against Georgia Tech? No. But if they are going to hang in this game, it's going to be on the back of Damon Claiborne, one of the most talented backs in the ACC, in my opinion, probably the most talented. This offense, it runs through Claiborne. Robbie Ashford cannot be trusted to do anything other than turn around and hand the football off to Damon Claiborne. All right, 2 5K guys. 2 guys in here that I think are in play. Do I like them? No, they're probably the very bottom of the barrel when it comes to what I'm going to end up playing, and I might end up not needing to get here whatsoever. But I think Fagan is interesting. With Lawfrey coming back, he probably steals a little bit of work. Yes, he was awful against against Indiana. But this is a game that if Illinois is going to do much in this thing, it's going to have to be on the back of we're going to turn around, we're going to hand it off, we're going to average 5 yards a tote, and we're going to burn clock for the entirety of this game so that we can keep our defense off the field, try to eliminate the possessions and the capability of Maeva and those nasty wide receivers to be able to throw points up on us, with the secondary just being obliterated from an injury standpoint. I think Fagan's in play. I don't love the play. I rarely am I going to get here. I might have 1 or 2 shares But I think you need to keep him in there because I think there is a world where he gets 100 yards and a touchdown in this spot. It is really a kind of a three-way committee there at this point. So do I really want to go there? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm leaving him in the pool, but I'm going to have to. It's going to take an act of Congress for me to get there probably. I see a route for it. I just don't love it. Similarly with Hemby, I think they attack Iowa through the air. Hemby can catch balls. I think his workload's going to be increased now that we see now that Lee Beebe's out. I have some concern. Not Illinois. I need Indiana. Where's Indiana? I have some concern that Kobe Martin's playing so freaking well that they start giving Kobe Martin those Lee Beebe carries. Like, can they really ignore 2 weeks in a row at 9 yards a carry and running for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns? I know these games were out of hand when he did it, but he looks good, man. So I don't think they can ignore that. I think Kalon Black and Hemby end up splitting work. I prefer Hemby to Black because Hemby's catching is a lot. His pass receiving's better. Could this be a situation where they end up using Hemby out of the backfield? Maybe. Do they use him with a run carry? I think they could trust him. I saw somebody talking about Hemby has had negative. He's due for positive touchdown regression. Hemby's had terrible touchdown luck for 2 straight years. It just is what it is. Like, he's not going to score. It's just not his thing. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I get there. Maybe I don't. I don't love it. So he's one of those, like, if I had $5K and I needed to spend it, but now that he was going to end up being the bottom of the barrel if the Oklahoma State had their backs back, Highshaw played and Keywan Brown, and all 3 Louisville backs played, then sure. If I had to get to 5K, I would with Hemby. But at this point, now with the Highshaw news, the Oklahoma State news, and then we'll monitor Louisville, it's easy clicks to go down to Fields and LaShawn Williams, preferably for me. All right. Top of the board in the wide receiver room. So, core plays at wide receiver. I'm going to go top play of the week. Mekhi Lemon at 7,300. As I mentioned with Illinois, they're missing a lot of their secondary. That's why they got carved up. And this is by far and away the top option in this pass offense. Did he struggle at Purdue? Yep. Does that make me nervous? A little bit. I'm still going to make him the top play because I think that the matchup's too good. He was kind of a late add to this spot, but I think he's got the highest floor on the board and a good ceiling. And the price tag differential between him and the best player on the slate is too big. Core play number 2. Mario Craver's just been absolutely ungodly so far this season. I don't see how you can't put him as a core play. Do I love the idea of playing him and Le'Veon Moss in the same lineup? Not really. Specifically, if I'm not playing Auburn players. So I think you have to pick and choose, but I also am going to highlight him because I think one or the other should basically be in any team you build because they've been so good or they have the upside to be so good. I think Craver is a fabulous play, and I think there's more outs to you getting away from Moss and playing Craver because of the LaShawn Williams, Rodney Field stuff. And you have the top 2 running backs, in Love and Bryson Washington, Jamal Haynes, Des Reed. So there's way more outs to get there than there is to get away from Craver. leaving Craver's the top points per dollar play on this slate from a wide receiver standpoint, and there's a good reason for it. He's just been absolutely unreal. He's priced way too cheap. There's a ton of value with him. Core play number 3. Now, I had to make a decision. So I made this decision. I'm going to highlight both of them, but I'm going to make the decision. Core play number 3 for me is Brennan Thompson over Anthony Evans. I think the upside is there. The touchdown equity's more there for Brennan Thompson. I like the player. I think he's very much so in that Zach Branch mold, and he fits that feeling. I like his deep ball capability, his touchdown upside. I'm taking Thompson over Evans as my core play number 3 against the Tennessee pass defense that is an absolute struggle bus. Now, does that mean I'm not playing Anthony Evans? Nope. Does that mean I wouldn't play both of them in the same lineup together? Nope. Because they both dominated Arizona State in the one game that was extremely close for them. I think Blake Shapen doubles are fully in play. I love this matchup. I think Evans is more of your PPR floor guy, but I think the ceiling lies with Thompson, and I like the salary savings on Thompson. I think both are in play, but I prefer those guys. All right. GPP plays. I'm going to keep the theme going here. Give me Denzel Boston as a low-owned play. I don't think anybody gets here. I think your ownership percentage on this should be maybe 5% or less. But we need to buy into something here. I think all three of the Washington Big Three, we're going to talk about it in a minute as a game stack theory. He's by far and away the best wide receiver in this offense, and he's underrated talent-wise. Now, this Ohio State secondary, very good. I still am not a big Igbinosun fan. I think that he's going to end up having to play grab butt with Boston, and I think he's going to get a lot of penalties. Boston's capable of taking a game over. So I would go Boston in as a GPP option, but that's a full pivot off of your Mekhi Lemon here. Speaking of pivots in this range, Cam Coleman, I say it every week. He's the best player on the field every time he steps on it until he ends up lining up in a game where Jeremiah Smith's on the other sideline. Cam Coleman's a freak. So I absolutely adore the fact that I can play a team with Mario Craver, Le'Veon Moss, Cam Coleman. Love it. I think Coleman is going to be an absolute stud in this game. He's going to be a guy that he's going to be underrated coming out of college potentially if he continues with this mediocre. I'll say mediocre because I'm not going to put Jackson Arnold down. I think Jackson Arnold's a very good quarterback. Or he could be a good quarterback. He's just not quite there yet. Pocket awareness, still a bit of a struggle. Offensive line, bit of a struggle here. I think Cam Coleman's a hell of a player, though. He's priced up a little bit to where I don't think people want to get there. So I think everybody goes to Lemon out of that trio. And even this quad box, I think Lemon and Anderson soak up the ownership. And then that leaves Boston and Coleman with almost no ownership, or people just decide they're going up to Jeremiah. We'll get there. Third GPP play. I think he's probably overpriced for what people think they're going to get. Chris Bell. So Chris Bell's been operating on the outside. He's been operating as the clear number 1 in this offense. I'm not the biggest Chris Bell fan, but he is running as the 1 in this Brom offense. Brom number 1s have typically been on the outside. We saw it with Ja'Cory Brooks, Charlie Jones. Rondale Moore did do it out of the slot, but he was outside and in the slot, so they kind of moved him around. I like Bell. I think he's got upside in this spot. You always need to buy into a Jeff Brom number 1. So I would say Bell is a great GPP play that people aren't necessarily going to get to. Ownership, like I said, is going to be more Lemon, Anderson, Blake, Surratt, Brazel. There's tons of guys in this range that I think get ownership over Chris Bell, and Bell's going to end up being a fabulous pivot play here. All right, I'm going to talk about the one injury situation we need to keep an eye on. He is back practicing. I love the play if he does play. I think he catches a touchdown or two. Jacoby Lane is an absolute freak. We've seen it. I should have made it probably should make it the FanDuel play, but picture with him mossing the dude with one hand. He participated in practice. I think he's back this week with the struggles of the Illini back four. I think we see Lane and Lemon perfectly capable of being absolute monsters. He's a touchdown play. I love him on FanDuel. Excuse me, for the touchdown equity. All right. Other guys in the pool. It sounded like fool, but I'll say pool. Jeremiah Smith is in pool. He's a great play. He's 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. 30 to 40 points. He can break a slate. He broke it against Ohio. 9K is just a fair price. He can do it here. I think it's in play to beat on UW. I want to get here as much as I can just because the upside is through the roof. And I think it's very reasonable price tag here. All right. Other guys in the pool. I took Aaron Anderson out of the pool. I think the ceiling's not there, personally. I like Aaron Anderson, the player. I rode the heck out of him last year, but I took him out of the pool. Omega Blake is in the pool. He's just quite not had that explosive game. Now, he did in this one, but we weren't playing him. He wasn't in the pool. I think he's been close. Last week, he was close to some touchdowns, just didn't quite hit on them. He was close to a second touchdown against Ole Miss. The upside's there. Mario Craver, we saw just dominate this Notre Dame team. I think at 6K, you got to take plenty of shots here. Very fair price tag. I think you're going to live in this 5 to 6K range a good bit. Brazel, I'm going to keep in the pool. Not the biggest fan, but he's been getting there. I think you're going to have to play him. Ownership's going to be pretty high here. I think you got to take shots. The price tag's just too good not to. He's a very good bring back for your Mississippi State stacks, Mississippi State doubles. You could definitely play Brazel. I think that is a very high end play there. All right, might as well talk about these two together. Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper. So Cooper's been having some monster games lately. He's more of your shot play guy. I'm going to prefer to go to Surratt for the sole reason you got to remember, I'm emotionally attached to Elijah Surratt, having played at JMU. I really appreciate this kid's game. He's a route technician. Omar Cooper, very big play threat. It also comes to somewhat, I trust the floor for Elijah Surratt. I think he's more likely to have these 9 for 97 games. I think Cooper's a very quality play. I just think that they try to limit the shots this week. It's what led me to wanting, even in that situation. Last week, I thought that Illinois would try to limit the shot plays and keep everything underneath. They tried that, but Surratt had a big game. Cooper had a good game. I think you can go both ways personally. So I have no issues on both sides of the ball there. All right. Who else here? All right. Hank Beatty. So Hank was a little banged up last week, had a terrible game. I think you keep him in the pool. I think this is another option for a bring back for USC. So I have no issues getting to Beatty as more of a PPR option, keeping them in the game. Perfectly happy with that right there. And then as a pivot off of or as a pivot off of Chris Bell, I think you can go to Colin Lacey. I am a fan of that. He has had some decent games. I was a proponent of him being the one in this Brom offense. He looked like he was going to be the one last year. Never quite got the opportunity with the broken collarbone. Then was the one when he came back. They kind of decided to shut him down when they were out of playoff contention. So I think Lacey's worth shots. I think you can go doubles with Moss even. I like Lacey, but I would prefer the Bell play if I could get the money to get there. Raphael Williams is kind of operated as the number one in this offense that we saw spread the ball around a little bit more. It's been a lot more concentrated. I like him as taking shots here if I wanted to play some of him in the pass game, if I wanted to play the pass game instead of playing it through if I want to play it through him rather than Des Reed, I would go Rafi Williams as my top option on this Pitt pass game. Notice I did take Holstein out of my pool. I'm just kind of leaning away from Holstein. He's burned me too many times. All right, getting down to it. And now we're getting a little cheaper. I think Eric Singleton stays in the pool at 4,800. He's been more of the PPR option to this offense. I think this game has a legitimate shot to shoot out. So I would keep Singleton in the pool. Obviously, I'm going to prefer to spend all the way up for Coleman as a raw points, but Singleton's done a fabulous job as more of the PPR option. They project very similarly. So do I blame you if you go down to Singleton? No. If the price is there, the price is there. You can utilize them. On that Kansas side, I'm going to heavily favor LaShawn Williams if I do end up going to the pass side of it. It's going to be Emmanuel Henderson. Yes, he had a good game against Wagner, but he still has struggled otherwise. I do like Emmanuel Henderson from that standpoint. I'm willing to keep buying into it. Do I want to get here? Not really. I'm going to end up playing a ton of LaShawn Williams. But if I do play Jalen Daniels and I want to pair him up, it's going to be with Emmanuel Henderson. Let's see. Talked about Brennan Thompson. Ryan Davis, if I'm playing a wide receiver weapon with for this pass offense for Utah, I won't be playing Devin Dampier because of him being banged up. Thanks. Shout out Whittingham. Who would have guessed Kyle Whittingham, of all coaches, would be the first guy to break the rules on the injury report? What a shocker. I don't get that. Like, just say who the hell is going to play and what their injury availability is. It is not a competitive advantage, you morons. It is not. It simply isn't. Like, just say who's going to play and who isn't. It's no competitive advantage. At this point, there's so much money trading hands that these schools have way too much liability that if they fake these reports, they're going to get sued into the oblivion because of all the gambling money getting traded hands here. So tell people what the heck's going on, Whittingham. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Okay? Thank you. That's your public service announcement for not being an idiot. Getting paid $10 million. You can't tell us that the guy hadn't practiced all week. So, point being, Ryan Davis is going to get peppered with targets. Does he have massive touchdown upside? No. But he has very similar upside to Singleton and these other PPR wide receivers that are going to be playing. Sorry. Wife's got cackling hens in the background. She's off today. She's going on a bachelorette party. Apologize. So, last guy that is going to be considered in the pool. As far as this range, I'll get to the cheap options here in a second. If I'm going to pair up Sorsby, I'm pairing him up with Cyrus Allen. Yes, the volume kind of hasn't been there. I like the floor. I think the ceiling is actually more in play than we would think. I do think he's going to lean on Cyrus Allen. They're showing a good rapport with him. I've seen him do it. And Kansas, they're definitely a struggle on the back end. I believe Kevin Coleman had a really good game against this Kansas secondary. He plays out of the slot. That's where Cyrus Allen's going to line up in that same spot. I think Sorsby ends up targeting Allen, using his legs. I think we get home here as a great guy to stack with him. So what I'm going to term the value plays, they're going to be sub 4K guys that I think you could take shots on. Let's start with my top option. Notice Harrison Wallace was not mentioned. I'm going to let him burn me. I'm tired of that. If he beats me, he beats me. I can't stand Harrison Wallace. I don't think he's good. I think the LSU secondary is good enough. I just don't like him. So, as a pivot, my favorite option, the only player that I'm willing to play in this Ole Miss LSU game, it seems, is going to be Deuce Alexander at 3,700. He's cheap. I like that. He's been productive every week. I like that. I'm not playing DeJon Stribling. I'm not playing Caden Lee. I'm not playing Harrison Wallace because apparently I have a personal vendetta with him at this point because he cost me a lot of money last week. He was heavily owned, and I shouldn't have played him. I know better than to trust Harrison Wallace. He got me the first couple weeks. I'm out. Give me Deuce Alexander. If I'm going to play a cheap guy, I'm playing this guy. Sub 4K, if I've got 3,700 left, it's him. So that's where I'm going to go. I think he's got the highest floor and the best ceiling of the punt plays that I'm going to say this week. At 3,800, this is going to end up being my second favorite play of the punts this week. I love the talent of Malachi Fields. I love the game environment of this game. So give me this. He had a good game against A&M, 5 for 77. I'll take that at 3,800. 2 for 78 last week with a 66-yard touchdown. I'll take that. Has the pass volume been there? Not really. I'm not a Jordan Faison guy. I think Fields has a ton of talent. I'll lean into it. He's my second favorite punt play this week. I would mix and match him and Deuce and Alexander. I think the game environment much better for Notre Dame, though. All right, third favorite punt play. I think Dallin Bentley is going to take over a lot more target volume with Hunter Andrews now out for the season. I think Bentley's a very safe floor play. He's the safest of the bunch. The ceiling isn't there. It's very debatable. But we know Utah is going to just absolutely throw to the tight end any chance they get. I worry about their run game. It's going to be very split up. So I don't mind taking shots on Dallin Bentley as a punt play if I have 3,600 left. I can't get to Alexander, can't get to Fields, no problems there. And then the punt of all punts for me, he's not on the field enough for me to be comfortable. There is a very thin margin here. It's Kobe Prentice. We already got a blowout situation. He's just finding the end zone. How? I don't know. He is the quintessential, he can't keep getting away with this. Same thing I've been saying about Justice Haynes with Michigan. He can't keep getting these 75-yard touchdown runs to save his bacon. Prentice keeps somehow scoring, and it keeps letting him get away with it. He's not on the field all the time. Hawkins is on the field more. Cole Wilson on the field more. Trigg on the field more. Josh Cameron on the field more. Yet somehow Prentice keeps finding the box. So I'll just keep playing it. Why not? You know, at 3,200, if you're down in that range and you need to take a shot, this is the best option. Just if you have to, it's sub 3,500 or less. Take a shot on Prentice. That's just where we're at. All right. Let's wrap this thing up by going over game stacks. So, a game stack that I like a good bit. Now it's really going to be fun here. Sorsby. I prefer him with Cyrus Allen. I understand if you'd like Caldwell. I get it. Emmanuel Henderson, I think you could throw in there. And now that we have that Highshaw news as being doubtful, that is a very quality game stack here. You get Sorsby's legs. You get LaShawn Williams. If you want, you could throw Jalen Daniels in here. That's a hefty way to go. I don't know that I want to get that heavily involved in it, but I think you can. I just like Henderson a good bit. I like Williams a good bit. I like Sorsby and Allen. I think that's a fine way to go with this thing. It leaves you at plenty of salary. All right. Game stack number 2. This thing could get drunk. It's possible. Give me Haynes King. Give me Damon Claiborne. And I don't hate going Isaiah Canyon in this spot. I probably should have highlighted him. He's been really coming on strong. I think but I don't want to play him. So I would much prefer the other guys, but I'll put Canyon in here as far as like a GPP option to be able to run this game stack. I think it's in there. He could pay off. I don't mind that whatsoever. But King Claiborne is my main piece to that. All right, let's look at this USC game. Maeva. If I'm game stacking, give me the double. I love the double in this spot. No problems getting there. And I don't hate the idea of going Fagan as the bring back, saying that, let's just say we're playing the game script that USC gets off to somewhat of a slow start. Fagan finds the box once or twice early here, and you get that. I don't mind it doing Beatty as well in this one. So give me all of this. This is a full game stack here. Don't hate it. I don't mind if you take out the Illinois plays and just say I'm going with the two big boys and saying that they just dominate this game with Maeva. So college-wise, you could do it either way, but that's a full game stack. No problem. You could get there. Very easy to put together. Now, this is probably going to be one of the more popular game stacks. I like it a good bit. I will definitely play this. This could be I'll play in a heftier dollar amount tournament style here, but I actually do really like the idea of this. Taylor Green, Jeremiah Love, Omega Blake, and Malachi Fields all in the same lineup. I do love this as a game stack. Green pairs greatly with Blake. I think Fields really, because of his price tag, only needs one long catch to pay it off. And then Jeremiah Love can drop a 30 burger at any given time. So that's a very nice one to play. Now, you're off the board, off the wall game stack. I actually like this more than I should. I'm going to end up playing it because I just can't help myself. Miller Moss, Des Reed, Chris Bell, Colin Lacey, Raphael Williams. That just screams I'm ridiculously stupid. But I get the Pitt number 1 wide receiver. I get the Pitt running back who can explode for 50. And then I get Miller Moss. Let's just say the running backs are out. Everybody plays Keywan Brown. All right. I'm going to fade Keywan Brown. I'm going to say Miller Moss throws for 300 yards and 100 goes to Bell. 100 goes to Lacey. That's likely. It's very possible. And he throws 3 touchdowns, and then each of them gets 1. It's in play, man. I'm telling you, this is a possibility. Like, this could work. This has the opportunity to work. So I will play this. I'm going to play it in a tournament and see what happens. I think there's a possibility that game does shoot out, and I think it's a sneaky, underrated possibility. Check the weather. It's got a little rain tag next to it, but Kevin Roth at Rotor Grinders is your best weather guy in the business. Just follow him. He's as good as it gets at weather. All right. I think this one's fun. Because it starts 45 minutes behind everything, you could have a whole bunch of people that think they've won all the money, and then you could just come flying by them with this. You play that. You play Brazel. You play Evans. You play Thompson. This thing's fun. I like this. This I will have because Shapen's going to chuck the ball. They're playing at home. I think they chuck the ball up to Brazel. I don't trust really anybody else in this Tennessee offense to an extent. I mean, I'd be willing to take shots on Braylon Staley, willing to take shots on Matthews, but there's a ton of ways. Now you can easily get a good, you could throw Sorsby here. Now you're still gaining on your average remaining salary. You can throw probably the top 2 running backs. I bet you can very easily go Jeremiah Love and Bryson Washington and still be able to get Sorsby. Yep, 6,400 is going to leave you 4,200. That leaves you with LaShawn Williams at 3,900. So you can go Sorsby, LaShawn Williams with those two, this game stack, and you're done. Boom. Love it. Love it. Love it. I guarantee you I end up playing that team. Now, will that team be in the $20? Heck no. I don't think I can get that frisky, but I'll be willing to do it. All right. Off the board is off the board's going to get. You want to play a weird game stack? If Washington wins this game, it's going to be their stars who win it for them. I think there's a legitimate possibility that if you're going to play a Washington stack, you should play all three of the big three, and you bring it back with Jeremiah. There's enough value to make this happen. Do it. No problem with it. If Washington stays in this game, it's going to be because Damon Williams throws the ball to Jonah Coleman. It's going to be because Damon Williams throws the ball to Denzel Boston. It's going to be because Jonah Coleman runs for 60 to 80 yards on the ground. It's going to be because Damon Williams runs for 60 to 80 yards on the ground. And this offense is so concentrated that you can play the triple without problem. They are going to go on a run that seems like it's a vintage Steelers, man. You're going to have your Ben Roethlisberger, your Le'Veon Bell. Now, this is mobile Ben, in fairness, but this is literally Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're talking here as far as usage. Realistically, we're talking like that level of usage that these guys are getting. Can they perform in this spot? I don't know, but I think it's worth taking the chance that you can get here, especially with all the value we have. You throw in your maybe Keywan Brown's your guy. Maybe LaShawn Williams is your guy. You go LaShawn Williams, Rodney Fields. You got that's 3,900 and 4K. We're starting to gain on the salary. We go with another cheap guy. Maybe it's Deuce Alexander. Then we get a quarterback here. Boom, done. I think that's in play. All right. Very simply, I don't love any bring back in this Iowa game. I do not have issues if you want to play Mendoza doubles. So if you play Mendoza with Surratt and Omar Cooper, perfectly fine with that. I'm not going to plug it in because I'm not going to bring it back. But this might end up being my favorite thing to play as far as like off the board stuff. I love the Mississippi State double with the Tennessee bring back. I love the Washington trio, oddly enough. I don't know why. I think the Notre Dame Arkansas one's going to be overowned. I think the Kansas Cincinnati doubles are going to be overowned, things like that. I think my two favorite ones to play as like the weird thing is the Louisville double with the Pittsburgh bringbacks. I actually like the Auburn doubles. I don't know why. I really think the Auburn A&M game is underpriced. And I think at 69, it's very fair. I think he can run the football. Le'Veon Moss, I think, is a great play as a bring back. I think you go Coleman. I think you go Craver. And I think you go Singleton. Like, I think this is fun, man. Like, I don't think this gets enough credit for how good this could be from a game environment standpoint. I think everybody would much rather go to Marcel Reed in this spot and then eliminate Coleman or eliminate Singleton and play it that way. Nah, man, I'm playing it this way. I really do like this. I think that there are worlds where this is a fabulous game environment. You can still get your studs here. I'm going to keep going back to the LaShawn Williams. Well, let's just say you play LaShawn here. Let's say you play Sorsby. We're going to keep going back to that. Well, oh, you don't even need to play Sorsby, dude. Yeah, you don't even have to play Sorsby. You can get legitimately Jeremiah Smith and then still have 7,900 for Sawyer, or 7,900 to play with at quarterback. So you could play Haynes King. You could play, Bryson Washington, and then you'd have 7,800, which is fine. You there's not anybody I love in that range. but you could come off of LaShawn Williams. You could technically play any number of things. You could play this, boom, now you got 84. I'd like to have a rushing quarterback in that instance. You get you a Damon Williams, Jaden Maeva, Haynes King, whatever. But you can easily get up at the quarterback spots. But I absolutely love this as a play here. So, I mean, there's tons of ways you could play this, but I'm going to play around with it and have some fun, certainly. But from a running back standpoint, I mean, at this point, you can go Jamal Haynes and Des Reed, and I love that. Like that's fabulous. So love this one. This might be my underrated stack of the week. Is a Texas A&M Auburn game stack right there with the Louisville Pitt doubles and full game stack there. But lots of options this week. I think we could build a lot of things, and I'll be back tomorrow talking the FanDuel slate. I am working through that currently. Nice for me is tomorrow I got a half day at work because I'm a sicko and I work later in the day. So I wanted to be able to watch the Friday night game. I'm looking forward to TCU, Arizona State, and Virginia, Florida State. I think Virginia could sneak up and get them. So I took a half day at work just to watch the games. Nothing wrong with that. And we'll have FanDuel, and then Saturday morning we'll have Live Before Lock, so I'll be able to answer any questions you guys might have about the slate. I'll let you know if anything changes on my end, and I'm going to have everything built by tomorrow night, so that I'm mainly just looking at maybe the late night slate, whatever. But I'm going to try to have everything built super early, so that all we're doing is answering questions during that show. So I will see you guys tomorrow for the FanDuel show, and I will talk to you guys then. I'm going to start working on my player pool for that and trying to narrow it down. Good luck tonight in East Carolina and Army. It's ugly. I would say get Dwayne Coleman as your captain, though, and Hayden Reed, and plenty of running backs. We built the team yesterday. It was pretty fair.